Hello, everybody. Um, I'm going to be streaming today. Today is the second day for me of the Baby No Money AI challenge. No AI challenge because fuck AI, learn to draw. Which we're trying to do. Theoretically, already should know to draw. But that's a complicated part. So hello everybody, welcome. Um, I'm just gonna be watching like some spoopy stuff. Wait, how do I? Oh, I can actually edit the stream info. Whoop, whoop. All right, let's see. Baby, no. You know what? It's gonna be baby nose. BB nose. No, no one's gonna fucking know. Okay. Baby no money, no AI art challenge and SpookTube. All right, there we go. Whoop whoop. All right, I think we have this set up decent. I'm gonna watch the video again just to try to get the feel. I have a reference right here because I want to try to like encapsulate a lot of the darker colors. I think colors is gonna be like a really important thing for this image. Um, it looks so girl, it looks so bad. I promise we're trying to cook. I'm just not good at that. Oh my god. Oh, I should probably also have Twitch pulled up on here so I can see a chat. If no, I don't want Twitter. Excuse you. So rude. Whatever. Bro, alright. Ew, yeah, me see no way shit. What? I just want to go to the Twitch login. Girl. It's okay, we'll figure out something here. Oh yeah, you really have to like turn. It's fine. You can figure it out. I believe in you. I'm sorry. Alright, here, I'll have. Oh no, we good. Oh, that spooked me. Oh my god. It's okay, we good. I have my reference. I have Twitch. Asa. And then here we go. Alright. Give it to me. God, this is just so. I cried so many times. Let's see if if I cry more watching it, but I'm actively trying to. So, like, right now, I'm trying to work on, like the actual skyline, I guess. Like this part right here, I really want to try to like encapsulate like the colors, the emotion. I have so much justice to try to do for this piece that I don't even know if I can do. I mean, I'm going to try. No matter what, I'm going to try, even if it's just for at the end of the day to show my appreciation for Alex. Oh, look at me, Alex, as if we're buddies like that. No, I really genuinely appreciate him as an artist. I've been following him for years. Um, and I don't know, it's like every time he has some sort of character growth, it's like another genuine reason why I'm so glad I stuck with him. Because his personality seemed amazing. He was there, especially like during COVID. Try to, you know, it would help me feel better. He was just fun to be, like, to follow on social media, positive vibes. I love the other people that he collaborates with, like Young Gravy. I like him a lot. I do. Rich Brian was one of my favorites. He was one of the first ones besides Joji. And then um Freddie Dredd. Freddie Dredd! If you see this, Freddie Dredd, I love you. I love my Violent Short Kings. You're amazing. And I swear, I wanted to draw something for you too. I've had something on the back burner for years. It's so sad. I just, my skill and what I want to represent you, especially with the song, fucking Devil's Work. I want to do something with it. I love it. Anyway, totally getting sidetracked. Not the point. um, he genuinely, it was just a positive, like something just, in your life that just makes you kind of hee hee ha ha, kind of happy. And like, yeah, he seemed like a really cool person. And then he just kept collaborating with more and more people that like I would watch, I would listen to. And then eventually I'm just like, fine, I'm gonna get invested. And then, I don't know. And then he's over here doing this contest. Or I don't even know if it's technically like a contest at this point. I don't know what to call it. All I know is that he has actively found his way to be adopted by the community I so love and cherish. Um, but he's also going out of his way to make a big deal about this, which is why I really wanted to do this contest or whatever, because, yeah, it's important. No, fuck AI. Like, I mean, I know I'm saying things that are all obvious, whatever. But it's great to see somebody who doesn't even have anything to do with the art community besides being picked up and adopted, and a lot of like the fan art and stuff he's actively showing appreciation for. Um, it's just amazing to see. You don't really see a lot of these like big people getting super involved in like this side of the art community, especially like unless it strictly is they are an artist or like a cosplayer or something, or especially like the furry artists. Um, I guess end of the day, my rambling is it's just nice to know and to see that things are starting to overlap. People are just genuinely starting to enjoy themselves. And people are actively giving recognition where recognition is needed. This is why you have to pay if you want actual skill made art and not AI, is because someone behind the screen is erasing out hundreds of tiny little effing windows. I'm gonna make eye contact with you for a second. If you do not pay, yeah, you see yourself in the corner. Hey. All right, let's get up close and personal. If you do not have the money to pay somebody to erase every single one of the effing squares on a building needed, maybe you don't need that building. I don't know where the point of that was. I don't know who needs buildings like that. Okay, well, unless you're doing like professional projects. Oh my god, I'm not functioning. I'm doing my best. This is why I don't stream. Okay. Alright. I think we good. I think. Back to my spooktube.
With the known symptoms of fugue state. Malie also shared her video in a local Facebook group, hoping to find more answers about what went down. Unfortunately, the responses she received weren't as helpful as she'd hoped, since most people in the neighborhood believed the screaming and noises were just the sounds of a wild animal, like a coyote. But there were a few responses that deepened the mystery. Like this one person who remembered meeting her earlier that same night, stating, "Saw this person between Van Dam and Packer Woods around 10:15 p.m. Friday. Asked her if she needed help, to which she responded no." Another person also mentioned hearing about a woman walking into his neighbor's house, yelling hello 3 times, and then leaving on her own. And while this added further evidence supporting the fugue state theory, these responses still left a key question unanswered. Who was she? Malie tried to contact both the police and the hospital for answers, but despite her insistence, both the police officers and the hospital staff refused to reveal her real name. That said, we still have enough information to make an educated guess. Based on everything I could uncover, the mysterious woman in this unsettling video was most likely Mei Zhou. She was a 28-year-old Chinese woman who went missing from Kalamazoo on May 6, 2021. Before her disappearance, she told her friends that she felt like she was being followed by a stalker she met online. Unfortunately, these are the only details about her case that were made public. I couldn't find any clear answers on whether the stalker was real or if she was just overwhelmed by paranoia. In either case, the constant fear and stress of feeling watched likely drove her to slip into some variation of the fugue state we discussed earlier. Hopefully, she received the mental help she desperately needed and is now in a better mental state than she once was. Tracking down a missing person can be an extremely daunting task, but tracking down a person's personal information often isn't. For example, just by knowing your name and the town or city you live in, I could probably find out your address, phone number, make and model of your car, who your relatives are, and much more. This is because data brokers collect all our information, package it, and sell it to whoever wants it. It can cost someone less than $1 to purchase this information about you. Most people buying this information aren't trying to find missing persons, they're probably scammers or stalkers. If you don't believe me, Google yourself right now and see what comes up. Thankfully, with my sponsor Aura, this type of thing can be prevented. They can identify data brokers who are selling my information without my permission and automatically submit opt-out requests on my behalf. You can keep an eye on your opt-out request progress in your Aura account while they work to remove your information. Give it a few weeks and you'll stop seeing your data on these sites when you search for yourself, helping to reduce spam. Aura can also continuously monitor the dark web and alert me if they find my personal information exposed. They let you know fast if anyone tries to use this information to access your credit or bank account.
Dog, I thought I
Plus,
changed
they give up to
this.
$5 million in
Alright,
identity theft
hold on.
insurance should the worst case scenario happen. The Aura app also has a VPN with 100 plus virtual locations. Does your current VPN have all these other features too? You can go to my link, aura.com/chillingscares to try 14 days for free. That'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. In June of 2024, streamer Lacey and his friend Clicks were doing an IRL live stream in Miami, Florida. The two were simply going around town and having fun. What they didn't realize was that this stream would end up saving someone's life. It happened a few hours into the stream when they sat down at the Starlight Hotel
Yeah?
for lunch. As they waited to order, a guy walked up to their table wearing nothing
I think I
but
got it.
neon green shorts.
Hopefully that works
Lacey
this
and
time.
Clicks initially assumed he was just another fan eager to talk to his favorite
Alright,
streamers.
let's
A pretty typical scenario for popular IRL streamers. But something about this young man didn't sit right. He was trying to keep a conversation going, but his words were slurred, and nothing he said really made sense. The streamers figured he was either drunk or on some kind of drugs. For content, they started poking fun at him a bit before shifting their focus back to their stream. But the guy continued to linger around, acting very odd and saying unintelligible sentences for the next half hour or so before finally leaving them for good. The streamer simply labeled it as an odd interaction from someone under the influence of something or another and continued on with their stream. Lacey later uploaded an edited down version of this stream on his YouTube channel. And that's when he got an email that made him realize the significance of what they had just caught on camera. 2 days after this video went up, Lacey received an email from a man named Trent claiming to be the brother of the guy seen in green shorts. It read, "Hello, my name is Trent Coleman, and my missing little brother from Michigan was on Clicks and Lacey's stream in Miami. He was wearing green shorts and they were making fun of him. He is not on drugs, he is schizophrenic, and he is 17 years old. If someone can contact me about this, I would be so thankful. He has been missing for 3 months, and his case was put on homicide in Michigan." In most cases, emails like these are just trolls trying to mess with creators. However, after some research, Lacey discovered that Trent was actually telling the truth and posted this new development on Twitter stating, "3 months ago, a 17-year-old kid went missing and was put on homicide. Yesterday on stream, he came up to me and Clicks, and now his family knows he is alive and in Miami. I wasn't sure if I should make this public, but I'm hoping somehow this helps him be found for his family." In a reply to his tweet, Lacey also attached an article that provided additional details about the case. Apparently, the teenager's name was Troy Coleman, and he had been missing from his home in Michigan since May of 2024. According to the article, Troy was last seen in Mount Morris Township around 9:30 a.m. on May 17th. In the 3 months since his disappearance, he had somehow traveled from Michigan all the way to Miami with no medication, no money, and no clear explanation of how he got there. This was extremely concerning considering Troy's lack of vital medication for his schizophrenia was known to cause serious hallucinations. His sudden reappearance only deepened the mystery. With no leads and no logical explanation, Michigan police were left so baffled that they even began investigating his case as a potential homicide. So, the fact that Troy randomly appeared on Lacey and Clicks' stream and his brother just so happened to be watching that stream was nothing short of a miracle. But somehow the coincidences keep piling up, and what happened next made the whole situation even stranger. While Troy was still on stream, another young fan approached the two streamers and tried to strike up a conversation. However, before he could even introduce himself, Troy interrupted them again and started saying something to the younger fan. He was still talking incoherently, which made the streamers even more uncomfortable and confused about his intentions. During this time, he also gave the younger fan the styrofoam cup he was holding. The young boy quickly took a sip of whatever was in the cup and walked away. Lacey's cameraman noticed the exchange and immediately pointed it out to the streamer. By now, they were convinced that Troy was on drugs, and that raised a serious concern. Had he just given the kid something laced? Not wanting to ignore it, Lacey decided to confront Troy, asking him directly what was in the cup. But to their surprise, Troy's answer was a lot more coherent than expected. He simply stated that it was just a soft drink from Beacon Hotel.
What was in the drink? What was in that drink? Drink? Yeah. You gave it to Lou? It was Coke from Beacon Hotel. Coca-Cola? Make sure you gave it to the kid. I gave it to a kid.
This coincidental interaction gave authorities the crucial lead they needed. Troy was, in fact, staying at the very hotel he had mentioned. From there, it didn't take long for investigators to track down Troy and reunite him with his family, who were overjoyed to have him back. In a later interview with People.com, Troy's father, Weston Coleman, shared even more heartbreaking details of what Troy went through. According to him, Troy actually wanted to visit Florida to find and meet celebrities. He did his research online and saved up as much money as he could before setting off. Troy made it to Atlanta by bus, but that's where things took a turn for the worst. During his stay in Atlanta, he was robbed of everything he had. Left with nothing, he traveled the rest of the way to Miami completely broke. Despite the hardship, his family was ultimately glad that he was still alive and well, with his father stating, "I'm just glad he's alive at this point, and now can't believe we found him. We all feel a lot better, and we thank everybody." From what I can find, Troy's been living with his family in Michigan ever since, and has managed to stay out of any more trouble. On August 3, 2013, 40-year-old James DiMaggio invited family friend Christina Anderson and her two kids, 8-year-old Ethan and 16-year-old Hannah, over to his home in Boulevard, California. He claimed it was just a farewell visit before moving to Texas. And this wasn't anything unusual. James had been a close friend with both Christina and her husband Brett for quite some time, and was like an uncle to the kids. And since Brett was away for a 3-month job in Tennessee, James helped the family regularly with things like driving Hannah to and from her gymnastics class. However, what seemed like an innocent invitation quickly turned into a horrifying nightmare. It started on August 4 when the children's grandparents called the police and reported the family as missing after not hearing from Christina all day. They also informed the police about the family's plan to visit James. However, when investigators reached James's home, it was already engulfed in flames. Firefighters rushed to the scene and suppressed the fire. Unfortunately, they were too late. Inside the burned house, they discovered the bodies of Christina Anderson, her son Ethan, and even the family dog. And while this could have been nothing more than a tragic accident, the reality was far more cruel. Later autopsy discovered severe injuries on Christina. These included signs of plastic cable ties around her ankle and arms, duct tape marks around her neck and mouth, multiple fractures in her right arm and both legs, a cut on her neck, and signs of at least 12 heavy strikes to the head. Her 8-year-old son Ethan also had multiple fractures throughout his body. However, despite the horrific scene, there were no signs of James or Hannah anywhere near the house. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots and realize that James DiMaggio was the mastermind behind this horrific crime. It also became clear that he had orchestrated the murders not just out of violence, but with the intent to kidnap Hannah. His actions were calculated and driven by some twisted obsession as he took her from everything she had in her life. After learning about this, the police quickly issued a statewide Amber Alert in hopes of getting any information regarding James and missing Hannah's whereabouts. In the meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James'
How's that look so far?
checkpoint in Pine Valley at around 10 p.m. This also prompted them to launch a massive manhunt spanning the entire
Okay, we
Pacific
getting there.
Coast
We
from
getting
British
there.
Columbia to Baja, California. However, despite the massive effort and the hundreds of man-hours put into the search, the manhunt turned up empty. Every lead seemed to result in a dead end, and the odds of successfully rescuing Hannah started to dwindle with every passing day. Things looked bleak. That is, until 3 days later, when 2 horseback riders spotted a man and a girl while trekking through the remote wilderness of Cascade, Idaho. They had seen the broadcast of Hannah's disappearance on TV and instantly recognized the young girl and her captor. They reported the sighting to authorities, who instantly began investigating the area. and soon after they found James's car with its plates removed to avoid detection. However, it still took them 3 more days to track down the campsite James was hiding in. The FBI had set up a jet with a sophisticated long-range camera recording from thousands of feet above, which is what you're seeing now. This footage confirmed they had found the missing Hannah. On the 10th of August, the FBI took it upon itself to rescue Hannah and mobilized a tactical team for the mission. They kept eyes on James for some time, looking for the right moment to attack. However, he was sticking close to Hannah, which made it near impossible for the rescue team to make their move. Fortunately, after some time, James moved away to gather some firewood. And while he was completely oblivious, Hannah actually spotted a rescue helicopter and started waving for help. This was the perfect opportunity, and the FBI didn't let it go to waste. They quickly moved in and carried Hannah to safety. After noticing the rescue mission, James took out one of the guns he had with him and fired at an officer. The rescue team then returned fire, resulting in him getting shot 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso. Hannah was finally safe. And while this was one of the most terrifying experiences a teenage girl could have, Hannah's managed to completely bounce back. She is now 27 years old and is happily living with her husband and 1-year-old son in Vancouver, Canada. On the 27th of May 2013, at around 4 p.m., 73-year-old Robert McDonough disappeared from his home in Portland, Maine. Now, an elderly person going missing is extremely stressful on its own. However, what made Robert's situation even more dire was the fact that he was also suffering from dementia. For those who don't know, dementia is a mental condition which makes it difficult to remember things, think clearly, or even recognize familiar faces. People with dementia can forget everything from their own names to the faces of loved ones, leaving them confused about where they are or how they got there. This can also extend to forgetting where they live. For someone with dementia, wandering outside can quickly turn from a harmless mistake to a life-threatening situation. A person with memory loss isn't just lost in terms of direction, they're lost in terms of identity and awareness. They forget how to care for themselves, how to recognize danger, and how to make decisions in an increasingly hostile world. These conditions could prove to be lethal for a healthy young adult, and the danger is increased tenfold for a frail elderly man trying to navigate a world that no longer makes sense to him. He could have easily wandered into traffic or tripped and fallen in a remote area, and no one would have known. Put simply, Robert's life was in extreme danger. This is also why the authorities moved quickly after receiving the missing report and began searching every corner of the city within hours of his disappearance.
Search and rescue teams spent more than 14 hours searching an area of Leamington after 73-year-old Robert McDonough, who has dementia, disappeared Monday afternoon. Around 6 a.m., search teams were briefed and started to intensify their effort.
It was going into the second operational period, which means we're starting to ramp up, using a lot of GPS technology. Well, again, we'd have our pilots, we'd have ATVs, canines.
However, they were having a hard time figuring out where Robert could have gone. When someone with dementia goes missing, searching for them is not like searching for someone who's just wandered off. In most cases, they don't even realize they're lost at all. They might walk aimlessly or even retrace the same steps without ever reaching familiar ground. Their confusion can send them in any direction, far from where they should be. But then, about 14 hours into the search, something happened that no one saw coming. On May 28 at 6:30 a.m., a reporter from Portland's local network was recording a section about the disappearance of Robert on the street, when, out of nowhere, an old man walked into the frame. At first, the reporter brushed him off as just another bystander. But after a few moments, he suddenly realized who the elderly man was. This was Robert McDonough, or Bob as he went by, the man everyone was looking for.
Call the warden service there, please. This is Bob. You identifying this Bob McDonough?
I think so. It's Bob McDonough. Yeah, he looks a lot like
Watch yourself.
That's Bob McDonough.
Fortunately, he was completely unharmed, despite being out in the cold all night. Upon realizing his identity, the news crew immediately contacted the authorities. And it wasn't long before Robert was reunited with his family. But here's the thing. Robert returning like this was nothing more than a stroke of good luck. While his story had a somewhat happy ending, it could have just as easily turned into an irreparable loss.
All right, What other spook tube should we do today? I recorded my dreams. Cops came. Dog, what? Here, let's do 4 unsolved mysteries. I think that sounds fun.
Born in the early 1930s, Jack Robinson grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. He was a military veteran, civil servant, and devoted father. Over the course of his 65 years, Jack earned the respect of those around him through his commitment to helping others and his steadfast character. His life of service began with his enlistment in the United States Air Force, where he served for 25 years, including a tour in Vietnam. His military career instilled discipline and a sense of purpose that he carried into his civilian life after retiring from active duty. Upon leaving the military, Jack transitioned into civil service, working at Moncrief Army Health Clinic in Columbia's Fort Jackson for another 20 years. His colleagues at Moncrief remembered him as a dedicated worker who took pride in his role within the community. Outside of work, Jack devoted much of his time to volunteering at homeless shelters and soup kitchens throughout Columbia. His efforts to help those in need showcased his generosity and kindness. He was also involved in local politics, working with the Democratic Party to support initiatives aimed at improving the lives of residents in his community. Jack's volunteer work often brought him into contact with people from all walks of life, earning him a reputation as someone who genuinely cared about others. Many believe that this aspect of his life may have played a role in the events leading up to his tragic death. Additionally, Jack was deeply committed to his family, particularly his daughter Tammy Downs and her 2 sons Doug and Matthew. Tammy was Jack's only child, and their bond remained strong throughout his life. Tammy recalls her father as a loving parent who valued spending time with her and her children. Both of Jack's grandsons have fond memories of their grandfather, describing him as a quiet but caring presence in their lives. Jack lived alone in the Wellesley Place apartments on Ranch Road in Columbia's Sandwood neighborhood during the final years of his life. While he preferred solitude at home, he maintained a close relationships with his family.
I like being
and
that
a
up
small
close and
circle of
personal.
friends. Those who knew Jack described him as an introverted yet kind-hearted man who found joy in simple pleasures. He had a passion for trains and enjoyed learning about their history and mechanics. Fast forward to August 17th, 1996, Jack left his apartment and drove to the Rosewood Boat Landing. This location, along the Congaree River at the far west end of Rosewood Drive, was a quiet and somewhat secluded area frequented by locals for relaxation and picnics. Jack's decision to visit this isolated spot that evening remains one of the enduring mysteries of the case. He did not own a boat or have any known connections to the area, leaving investigators puzzled about what brought him there. At approximately 6 p.m., witnesses at the scene observed Jack arriving in his white 1991 Dodge Dynasty. Shortly after parking, he was seen meeting with a younger Hispanic man. The two appeared to be acquaintances or perhaps even friends based on their interactions. They walked together from the parking lot into a wooded clearing near the boat ramp. Witnesses later reported that their conversation seemed calm at first but quickly escalated into an argument. As the 2 men disappeared from sight into the woods, witnesses overheard bits of their heated exchange. Jack was heard shouting phrases such as, "What is it that you want?" and offering money to his companion. His tone suggested desperation or frustration, as if he were trying to placate the man or resolve some personal dispute. Moments later, a loud scream pierced the air, signaling that something had gone terribly wrong. The witnesses saw the younger man fleeing on foot from the wooded area while Jack stumbled out shortly afterward, clutching his stomach and chest. He had sustained multiple stab wounds and was bleeding profusely. Jack managed to make his way toward the witnesses, pleading for help before collapsing on the ground. His injuries included 3 deep stab wounds to his abdomen and 1 cut to his face, as well as defensive cuts on his hands, indicating that he had fought back against his attacker. Emergency services were called immediately, and paramedics rushed Jack to Palmetto Health Richland Hospital. Despite their efforts to save him, his injuries proved fatal. Within 3 hours of being attacked, he succumbed to a perforated liver caused by one of the stab wounds and significant blood loss. The witnesses described the suspect to police as a Hispanic male with an olive complexion, aged between 25 and 35 years old at the time of the murder. He was approximately 5'5" to 5'10" tall, weighed between 150 to 180 pounds, had black hair and a mustache, and was wearing aviator-style sunglasses. Witnesses also reported overhearing fragments of Jack's argument with the suspect before the altercation turned violent. Jack was heard offering money to his assailant and shouting phrases such as, "What is it that you want?" These statements suggested that money might have been a factor in the confrontation, though investigators later questioned whether it was truly the motive for the attack. The crime scene presented challenges for investigators due to its outdoor location and lack of physical evidence directly linking anyone to the murder. A rusty hunting knife was found near the area during a subsequent search, but forensic testing revealed that it was not connected to Jack's stabbing. Environmental degradation had rendered any potential DNA evidence on the knife unusable. Law enforcement initially focused on establishing whether Jack had planned to meet someone at Rosewood Boat Landing or if his encounter with the suspect was purely coincidental. Investigators scoured Jack's phone records and financial statements, but found no indications that he had made arrangements for a meeting or transaction at this location.
I know I have it like
Tammy confirmed that
so.
her father was not
Alright,
known to
let's see.
frequent this area and had no apparent reason for being there.
It's
This lack of
giving
premeditated
smog.
plans led investigators to consider two possibilities. Either Jack had been lured there under false pretenses, or he had encountered someone he knew casually by chance. Witnesses believe that Jack and the suspect were acquaintances based on their interactions before entering the wooded area. About a year after Jack's murder, investigators explored potential connections between his case and another double homicide involving Kimberly Brown, a former colleague of Jack, and her 3-year-old niece, Leah Brazil. Their bodies were discovered near another boat ramp off Highway 601 in South Carolina. Bloodhounds used during Jack's investigation tracked a scent from Rosewood Boat Landing to a business later associated with Max Noten, who confessed to Kimberly's murder. Initially, detectives believed Max might also be responsible for Jack's death due to circumstantial evidence linking him to both locations. However, significant discrepancies emerged, such as the fact that Max was African American while the suspect in Jack's case was described as Hispanic. Furthermore, Kimberly's body was dumped post-mortem while Jack was killed on site and left at the scene. Ultimately, prosecutors did not pursue charges against Max for Jack's murder due to insufficient evidence. They informed Jack's family that while they believed Max might be involved, they could not proceed without physical evidence tying him directly to the crime. While theories are rampant, from personal vendettas to chance encounters, the truth remains elusive after about 3 decades. The Florence Salon murders, a brutal triple homicide that occurred on November 6, 2001, in the small town of Florence, Montana, remain one of the most perplexing and chilling unsolved cases in the state's history. The victims, Dorothy Harris, Brenda Patch, and Cynthia Paulus, were found murdered inside the Hair Gallery, a small salon located along Highway 93. Despite decades of investigation, the case remains unresolved. On that fateful Tuesday morning, a customer arrived at the hair gallery for her scheduled manicure appointment. As she parked her car, she noticed a man walking away from the salon. Witnesses later described this man as thin and unusually dressed, wearing a long dark trench coat or duster jacket and a wide-brimmed black hat resembling either a fedora or a top hat. His strange appearance caught the attention of several people in the area, but no one could have anticipated the horror awaiting inside the salon. The customer entered through the back door, a common practice for patrons of the business, and was immediately confronted with a grisly scene. Lying face down in a pool of blood near the entryway was Dorothy Harris, the salon's owner. Her body was curled into a fetal position, and her throat had been deeply slashed. Horrified but determined to call for help, the customer stepped over her body to reach the nearby telephone and dialed authorities. She then retreated from the building to wait for them to arrive. When law enforcement officers entered the salon to investigate further, they discovered 2 more bodies in a small utility room at the back of the establishment. These victims were identified as Brenda Patch, a manicurist employed at the hair gallery, and Cynthia Paulus, a regular customer who had come in for her weekly manicure. Like Harris, both women had suffered fatal injuries to their throats, with deep incisions that left investigators stunned by the sheer violence of the attack. Investigators pieced together a tentative timeline based on witness accounts and evidence at the scene. It is believed that Brenda and Cynthia were alone in the salon when the attacker arrived. The assailant likely forced them into the cramped utility room where they were made to kneel before being killed. The room itself bore signs of struggle. Police later described it as a battle scene, with blood spattered across its walls. Minutes after Brenda and Cynthia were murdered, Dorothy returned to the salon. She had visited a nearby bank earlier that morning to make her routine deposit and likely entered through the back door upon her return. Tragically, she encountered the killer almost immediately upon entering and was murdered in the doorway. Her injuries
Sorry.
mirrored those of
I
Brenda
didn't mean to
and
give y'all that nasty look. I got a text
Cynthia.
message and I was just like,
Injuries on all three victims.
God, my hair is such...
Importantly, there was no evidence of sexual assault on any of the victims, a detail that ruled out certain motives but deepened the mystery surrounding this violent act. One of the most baffling aspects of this case is its apparent lack of motive. Nothing valuable appeared to have been stolen from the business.
So,
Only two
right now,
inexpensive plastic hairdressing capes were reported
I don't
missing.
know.
This absence of theft...
I noticed that there was something weird, that it just didn't look right. So I'm actively trying to... block out certain windows. Because, like, in here, not every damn window's on, to which, yeah, no shit. Not every window's gonna be on. Plus, it's night. So. So right now, like I said, I'm just working on trying to mute out some of the windows to make it look a little bit more realistic. I know this is supposed to be just, like, the background, but still, like, I want it to look nice. This is a big deal.
The worst legal assault left detectives struggling to understand why someone would commit such an extraordinarily violent crime against three seemingly ordinary women. As for that previously mentioned man in the long coat, 7 witnesses reported seeing him loitering around Highway 93 near the hair gallery in the hours leading up to and immediately following the murders. Some described him as walking calmly away from the salon after the killings, while others noted that he appeared to be wandering aimlessly in nearby areas. One witness specifically saw him heading toward the woods after leaving the vicinity of the salon. Despite his conspicuous appearance and behavior, authorities were never able to identify him or determine his role in the crime. The sequence of events leading up to the murders is tightly constrained by time. Dorothy had been seen at a nearby bank at approximately 10:30 a.m. It typically took her around 20 minutes to drive back to the hair gallery, placing her arrival at roughly 10:50 a.m. Investigators theorized that Brenda and Cynthia were already inside when Dorothy returned to the salon. Brenda had opened the hair gallery earlier that morning and was giving Cynthia her manicure appointment when the killer entered. The chain of events means that all 3 women were killed within a window of approximately 20 to 30 minutes, as the bodies were discovered around 11 a.m. Investigators recovered several pieces of evidence from the business that could potentially identify the perpetrator. Among these were an unidentified palm print found inside the salon and a pair of dark sunglasses that did not belong to any of the victims. These items were carefully analyzed but ultimately failed to provide conclusive leads. As weeks turned into months without significant progress, investigators began exploring theories involving drug-related motives. By 2005, attention turned to Brian Weber and Lincoln Benavides, 2 men with extensive criminal histories tied to substance trafficking in western Montana. Brian was a small-time dealer with a history of violent crimes, while Lincoln was alleged to be the leader of a ring operating across Montana and Idaho. Prosecutors hypothesized that Lincoln had ordered Brian to carry out the murders as part of a substance-related retaliation against someone connected to one of the victims. Court documents suggested that an unpaid debt may have been at the center of this theory. Some investigators believe that one of the women or someone close to them had run afoul of Lincoln by mishandling or owing money tied to his operations. Brian's DNA was also found inside the hair gallery, which raised suspicions about his involvement. When questioned by authorities about why his DNA was present at the crime scene, Brian claimed he had not been inside the building since it had operated as a post office years earlier, a statement investigators found dubious. Brian also allowed police to search his van, but maintained his innocence evidence regarding any involvement in the murders. Despite these leads, evidence linking Bryan and Lincoln directly to the murders remained circumstantial at best. Much of the prosecution's case relied on testimony from prison informants who claimed that Bryan had confessed to his involvement while incarcerated. However, these statements were deemed unreliable under scrutiny, as informants often provide information in exchange for reduced sentences or other benefits. In 2008, both men were charged with multiple counts related to murder while engaged in substance trafficking. Prosecutors argued that Lincoln orchestrated the killings and that Bryan acted as his enforcer. If convicted, both men faced potential sentences of death or life imprisonment. However, federal prosecutors ultimately dropped all charges against Bryan and Lincoln due to insufficient evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Lincoln later accepted a plea deal on unrelated federal charges and is currently serving a 25-year sentence set to end in 2030. Similarly, Bryan remains incarcerated for separate methamphetamine convictions and is scheduled for release in 2029. While some investigators supported the theory that illegal substances played a role in motivating the murders, others believe that one of the three women may have been specifically targeted for unrelated reasons. This line of thinking stemmed from behavioral profiling and analysis of how events unfolded at the salon. Cynthia's presence at the salon on November 6th was unusual. She typically scheduled her appointments for Friday mornings, but had rescheduled for that Tuesday morning due to an event she planned to attend later that evening. Some investigators speculated that her unexpected appearance might have disrupted plans targeting another individual or made her an unintended victim. Others theorized that Dorothy's role as a business owner might have made her more visible within the small community and therefore more likely to attract unwanted attention. However, her routine bank visit earlier that morning suggested she was not present when Brenda and Cynthia were initially attacked in the utility room at the back of the salon. This timeline made it less likely that Dorothy was the intended target unless her arrival coincided with an opportunistic moment for the killer. Brenda's connection to local residents through her work as a manicurist also raised questions about whether she might have been targeted due to personal disputes or associations unknown to investigators. However, no concrete evidence emerged linking Brenda or any other victim to conflicts significant enough to warrant such extreme violence. Despite decades of investigation, this case remains unsolved more than 20 years later. Amy Lynn Bradley was born on May 12, 1974 in Petersburg, Virginia, and grew up in Chesterfield County with her parents, Ron and Iva Bradley, and her younger brother, Brad. From an early age, Amy demonstrated a vibrant personality and a strong sense of compassion. Her family and friends described her as outgoing, confident, and someone who always made people feel included. She was particularly known for her kindness, such as inviting strangers to join her family at dinner or befriending individuals with disabilities at her local karaoke club. These qualities made Amy a beloved figure among those who knew her. Her athleticism was another defining feature of her life. In high school, she excelled in sports, lettering in 5 varsity teams alongside her brother. Basketball was her favorite sport, and she earned a scholarship to attend Longwood University in Virginia. At Longwood, Amy continued to shine both academically and athletically. She played on the basketball team, joined the swim team as an assistant captain, and worked toward a degree in physical education. Her strong swimming abilities also led her to work as a lifeguard, a skill that would later be highlighted in discussions about her disappearance. In 1996, she graduated from Longwood University with plans for a bright future. Her parents gifted her an English bulldog named Bailey as a graduation present, which she adored. Amy moved into an apartment in Chesterfield shortly after graduation and began working at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse while preparing for the next chapter of her life. She had big dreams, pursuing a master's degree in sports psychology. She was also excited about starting a full-time marketing assistant position at her aunt's computer consulting firm. By 1998, Amy was thriving personally and professionally. She had concert tickets lined up for when she returned from vacation, had adopted another bulldog named Daisy to accompany Bailey, and had even bought gifts for friends during the trip. Her brother Brad recalled that this period was one of the happiest times of Amy's life. She was excited about the future and eagerly preparing for new opportunities. The Bradley family's ill-fated Caribbean cruise began as a celebration of Ron Bradley's achievement at work. He had won an annual sales contest through his employer, Illinois Mutual Life Insurance Company, which included an all-expenses-paid week-long cruise aboard Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas. Ron and his wife decided to extend the celebration by inviting their children to join them on the trip, covering their airfare and cruise tickets. The cruise itinerary included stops in San Juan, Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin, St. Thomas, and finally returning to Puerto Rico. The family boarded the ship on March 21st, 1998, expecting a relaxing vacation filled with sightseeing and quality time together. Initially hesitant about the trip due to her unease with open water, despite being a strong swimmer, Amy eventually agreed to join her family after some encouragement. As the departure date approached, her apprehension turned into excitement. She dyed her hair from bleach blonde to brown, got her nails done, and spent 3 weeks tanning in preparation for the cruise. On March 21st, Amy and Brad flew from Richmond International Airport to San Juan via Miami while their parents took an earlier flight. Upon arriving in San Juan, the siblings met up with their parents before boarding Rhapsody of the Seas. Amy wrote postcards to friends back home expressing excitement about the trip and purchased rolls of film for a photo contest she planned to enter upon returning home. The ship itself was capable of holding well over 2,000 passengers and 765 crew members across 11 decks. Weighing 75,000 tons and stretching nearly 1,000 feet long with over 100 feet in width, it offered amenities such as pools, nightclubs, restaurants, casinos, and more. The first few days of the cruise were filled with relaxation and fun for the Bradleys. They explored Aruba on March 23rd by renting a jeep to tour the island before returning to the ship for dinner dressed in formal attire. That evening marked one of the last times they were all together as a family before tragedy struck. After dinner on March 23rd, Amy and Brad decided to visit the ship's casino before heading to its nightclub, the Viking Lounge, for Mardi Gras-themed festivities hosted by Blue Orchid, the ship's band. A videographer named Chris Fenwick captured footage of Amy dancing with Alistair Yellow Douglas, the band's bass player, during this event. Amy interacted extensively with Yellow throughout the night, but reportedly found him unpleasant. She told Brad he was, quote, a real jerk. Witnesses later claimed Yellow had been flirting persistently with Amy during their interactions. Brad eventually returned to their cabin around 3:35 a.m., followed by Amy 5 minutes later, according to electronic door lock records. The siblings smoked cigarettes together on their balcony while chatting about plans for Curacao before Brad went to bed around 3:50 a.m., leaving Amy outside for fresh air due to mild motion sickness. At approximately 5:30 a.m., Ron woke up briefly and saw Amy asleep on the balcony lounge chair before returning to bed himself. When he woke again around 6, he found that she was gone. The balcony door was partially open but empty except for her shirt left behind on a chair inside the room. Her cigarettes and lighter were missing. However, all of her shoes remained in the cabin, a detail indicating she had left barefoot. Alarmed but hopeful that his daughter might be taking pictures or enjoying fresh air elsewhere on deck, given the docking procedures underway at that time, Ron began searching for Amy across common areas on board, but found no trace of her. He woke his family at around 6:30 to assist in the search. Afterward, they alerted the crew and requested an announcement over the ship's intercom system to prevent passengers from disembarking at their next stop. Unfortunately, staff delayed making an announcement until 7:50 a.m., by which time many passengers had already left the ship. The announcement itself was brief and vague. It said something to the extent of, "Will Amy Bradley please come to the purser's desk?" This delay significantly reduced the chances of locating Amy quickly and raised questions about whether proper protocols were followed. Between 12:15 p.m. and 1 p.m., cruise staff conducted a search of all the decks, including all rooms aboard Rhapsody of the Seas. Despite combing through every area accessible to passengers and crew, they found no trace of Amy. The Bradleys were devastated by what they perceived as a lack of urgency and cooperation from Royal Caribbean staff during these critical early hours. Following Amy's disappearance, authorities launched extensive search operations both at sea and on land in Curacao. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard conducted a 4-day aerial and sea search that ended on March 27, 1998. This operation involved 3 helicopters and a radar-equipped plane scanning surrounding waters for any sign of Amy or evidence suggesting she had fallen overboard. Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines also chartered additional boats to assist in these efforts. Despite these exhaustive measures, no evidence of Amy's whereabouts was found in the ocean or along nearby coastlines. Authorities initially speculated that she might have fallen overboard or jumped intentionally, a theory her family vehemently disputed due to her strong swimming skills, excitement about future plans, and lack of any prior indication of suicidal tendencies. The Bradleys believed that if Amy had left the ship voluntarily or been abducted, she might still be somewhere in Curacao. However, searches on land faced significant obstacles due to limited jurisdictional authority for U.S.-based investigators like the FBI. Local police in Curacao were involved but lacked leads or evidence pointing toward Amy's presence on shore. Witness reports from Curacao later emerged suggesting possible sightings of Amy shortly after her disappearance. A taxi driver claimed he saw a woman matching her description frantically
All that just for that.
near the port on March 24th.
Damn.
The same day, passengers disembarked from Rhapsody of the Seas. However, this account could not be verified, and subsequent searches yielded no further clues. Frustrated by what they perceived as insufficient action from Royal Caribbean and local authorities, the Bradley family took matters into their own hands. They distributed flyers with Amy's photograph across Curacao and neighboring islands, while offering substantial rewards for information leading to her recovery. Their efforts garnered widespread attention, but failed to produce actionable leads. The family also criticized Royal Caribbean for prioritizing its reputation over finding their daughter.
Okay.
They believed that delays in announcing Amy's disappearance and allowing passengers to disembark without thorough checks were motivated
Watch,
by
all that's gonna
concerns
get,
about
like,
negative publicity rather than genuine
covered
concern
up
for her
anyway.
safety. One of the most widely accepted
Ooh.
theories is that Amy was abducted and sold into human trafficking. This theory is supported by multiple witness accounts and circumstantial evidence that emerged in the years following her disappearance. Shortly after Amy vanished, her family received reports of possible sightings in Curacao. In August 1998, 5 months after she disappeared, 2 Canadian tourists claimed to have seen a woman resembling Amy on a beach in the same area. The woman reportedly had tattoos identical to Amy's, specifically a Tasmanian devil spinning a basketball on her shoulder and a lizard on her navel. The tourists did not realize she was a missing person until they saw her case on television later. In January 1999, a U.S. Navy petty officer reported seeing a woman in a brothel in Curacao who identified herself as Amy Lynn Bradley. According to the officer, the woman begged for help and explained that she was being held against her will. However, he did not report the incident at the time due to fears about his career being jeopardized for visiting a brothel. He only contacted Amy's family after retiring from the Navy and seeing her photo in a magazine. Years later, in 2005, Amy's parents received an email containing photographs of a sex worker known as Jazz, who bore a striking resemblance to Amy. Experts noted that the woman appeared distressed and withdrawn. The photos were discovered by an organization that monitors adult websites for victims of trafficking. Although the images provided hope that Amy might still be alive, investigators were unable to trace their origin or confirm whether they depicted her. Another sighting occurred in Barbados when Judy Maurer claimed she saw Amy in a department store restroom in 2005. Maurer reported that Amy was accompanied by 3 men who threatened her before leaving the restroom. After they left, Maurer approached the woman, who identified herself as Amy from Virginia. However, before Maurer could help further, the men returned and forcibly removed Amy from the store. These accounts paint a chilling picture of what might have happened to Amy after she disappeared. Her family believes she was targeted because of her appearance and outgoing personality, qualities that might make her a, quote, trophy in human trafficking circles. Despite these credible sightings, no concrete evidence has ever been found to confirm this theory. Another theory suggests that Amy may have been harmed by someone aboard Rhapsody of the Seas. Suspicious behavior by crew members and passengers has fueled speculation about foul play. Alistair "Yellow" Douglas, the bass player from the ship's band, who danced with Amy at the nightclub on March 23rd, has been scrutinized for his actions before and after her disappearance. Witnesses claim they saw Douglas with Amy on the upper deck between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m., handing her a drink before they entered an elevator together. Douglas was later seen alone on deck after Amy went missing, raising questions about his involvement. Adding to suspicions is Douglas's alleged comment to Brad Bradley, the victim's brother, later that day. According to Brad, Douglas expressed regret about what had happened to his sister before news of her disappearance had been made public aboard the ship. This peculiar statement has led many to believe Douglas knew more than he admitted. Another crew member, a waiter, had reportedly shown unusual interest in Amy during the trip. He persistently invited her to go ashore with him at Curacao despite her refusals. This behavior raised concerns about whether he might have played a role in her disappearance. Further complicating matters are missing photographs from the ship's gallery. Professional photographers aboard cruise ships often display pictures taken during events for passengers to purchase. However, none of Amy's photos could be found after she disappeared. Her family suspects someone intentionally removed them to erase evidence of her presence or interactions with others on board. Some theorists speculate that if foul play occurred on board, Amy may have been murdered and thrown overboard to conceal the crime. However, no physical evidence, such as blood or DNA, has ever been recovered from Rhapsody of the Seas to support this theory. Initially, authorities proposed that Amy may have fallen overboard accidentally or died by suicide, a theory dismissed by both investigators and her family due to lack of supporting evidence. Amy was known for her strong swimming skills and had no history of mental health issues or suicidal tendencies. She was excited about returning home to start a new job, move into her apartment, and care for her bulldog Daisy, all signs pointing toward future plans rather than despair. The possibility of an accidental fall has also been questioned due to logistical inconsistencies. If Amy fell overboard from her cabin balcony or another part of the ship, it is unlikely she would have gone unnoticed given how quickly Ron Bradley began searching for her after discovering she was missing at 6 a.m. Furthermore, extensive searches conducted by the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard yielded no trace of her body in surrounding waters. Some theorists suggest that alcohol consumption during the party may have impaired Amy's judgment or coordination, leading to an accidental fall while leaning over railings or navigating decks late at night. However, this theory remains speculative without evidence confirming such an event occurred. Ray Gricar was born on October 9, 1945 in Cleveland, Ohio, and grew up in the city's Collinwood neighborhood. He attended high school at Gilmore Academy, a prestigious Catholic institution in Gates Mills, Ohio. From an early age, Ray displayed a strong intellect and a disciplined work ethic. After graduating from high school, he enrolled at the University of Dayton, where he developed an interest in law while working as an intern for the prosecutor's office. This experience cemented his decision to pursue a legal career, and after earning his undergraduate degree, he returned to Cleveland to study law at Case Western Reserve University School of Law. He obtained his Juris Doctor and soon embarked on his legal career. Ray began his professional journey as a prosecutor in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, where he specialized in prosecuting cases involving rape and murder. Defense attorneys prepared their clients for intense cross-examinations when facing Ray in court. His ability to craft succinct arguments and his unwavering focus on justice distinguished him as a formidable figure in the legal community. Among the notable cases he handled during this time was the prosecution of several high-profile murder cases that showcased his ability to piece together complex evidence and secure convictions. In 1979, Ray's life took a significant turn when his first wife, Barbara Gray, was hired as a professor at Pennsylvania State University. The couple relocated to State College, Pennsylvania, along with their adopted daughter, Laura. During this period, Ray chose to step away from his legal career temporarily to become a stay-at-home father for his child. This decision reflected his deep commitment to family and his belief in prioritizing personal responsibilities over professional ambitions. After spending more than a year as a stay-at-home dad, Ray returned to the legal field when Center County District Attorney David Grine offered him an assistant position. Ray accepted the role and quickly made an impression with his dedication and skill. In 1985, when incumbent District Attorney Robert Mix decided not to run for re-election, Ray seized the opportunity to campaign for the position. Running against Amos Goodall, a fellow attorney who had become a close friend, Ray won the election by a narrow margin of 600 votes. Upon taking office as Center County's district attorney, Ray faced unique challenges. At the time, the position was part-time, but he successfully campaigned to make it full-time by 1996. His tenure as district attorney spanned 2 decades, during which he was re-elected 4 times, solidifying his status as a trusted public servant in the community. Ray's career was marked by several high-profile cases that demonstrated his commitment to justice and his ability to navigate complex legal scenarios. One such case involved the 1993 murder of Dawn Marie Birnbaum, a 17-year-old runaway whose body was discovered in a snowbank off Interstate 80. Using circumstantial evidence such as DNA analysis, tire tracks, and gas receipts, Ray successfully linked the crime to a cross-country truck driver who had dumped Birnbaum's body in Center County. A critical mistake that allowed Ray jurisdiction over the case. Despite the challenges posed by relying heavily on circumstantial evidence, Ray's attention to detail ensured that justice was served. Perhaps one of the most controversial decisions of his career came in 1998 when he declined to prosecute Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky following allegations of child sexual abuse. The allegations involved Jerry showering with an 11-year-old boy and engaging in inappropriate conduct, a claim supported by witness testimony from law enforcement officers who overheard Sandusky admitting to showering with young boys. Despite this evidence and pressure from some quarters to pursue charges against Jerry, Ray ultimately decided not to proceed with criminal charges. While some speculated that this decision was influenced by Jerry's status as a hometown icon or political considerations tied to Penn State's influence in Center County, those close to Ray refuted such claims. They described him as fiercely independent and unbowed by external pressures or public opinion. Anthony DeBove, who worked under Ray as an assistant district attorney for 5 years, emphasized that, quote, no one got a bye with Ray. He insisted that the decision not to prosecute Jerry stemmed from insufficient evidence rather than favoritism or reluctance to challenge powerful figures. Similarly, Robert Buhner Jr., Montour County's district attorney and one of Ray's closest friends, defended this choice by noting that Ray would never pursue charges unless he believed there was a reasonable likelihood of conviction. Despite these assurances from colleagues and friends about his integrity and independence as a prosecutor, Jerry's eventual conviction on multiple counts of sexual abuse in 2011 reignited scrutiny over Ray's handling of the initial allegations. This controversy added another layer of complexity to discussions about his legacy following his disappearance. On the morning of April 15, 2005, Ray decided to take a day off from work as Center County's district attorney. He informed his girlfriend, Patty Fornicola, that he planned to enjoy the warm spring weather by taking a drive through Brush Valley along Route 192. Around 11:30 a.m., Ray called Patty on his cell phone to let her know he was driving east-northeast toward Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, a town roughly 45 miles from his home in Bellefonte. During the call, he sounded calm and cheerful, ending the conversation with, "I love you." This was the last confirmed interaction anyone had with him. Patty returned home after work and noticed Ray wasn't back yet. Initially unconcerned, she went to the gym but began to worry when she returned home later that evening and still found no sign of him. After several hours of unanswered phone calls, his cell phone went straight to voicemail. Patty contacted authorities at approximately 11:30 p.m. to report him missing. She described his behavior as highly unusual and emphasized that Ray was not someone who would disappear without notifying her. The following day, investigators located Ray's distinctive red Mini Cooper parked in a dirt lot near the Street of Shops Antique Mall in Lewisburg. The vehicle was locked and inside were puzzling clues. Ray's cell phone was found turned off and locked in the car, along with a water bottle bearing his DNA. However, his wallet, car keys, laptop computer, and sunglasses were missing. Forensic technicians noted cigarette ashes on the passenger side floor mat and detected a strong smell of tobacco inside the car, details that raised suspicions because Ray was a staunch non-smoker who disliked cigarette smoke. Investigators also found cigarette butts on the ground near the car, but were unable to extract any useful DNA evidence from them. Witness accounts added further intrigue to the case. Several individuals reported seeing Ray at the antique mall earlier that day, including one witness who claimed he appeared to be waiting for someone. The proprietor of the mall recalled seeing a man matching Ray's description browsing through antiques, a pastime he enjoyed, but this sighting could not be definitively confirmed. Authorities launched an extensive search for Ray in the days following his disappearance. The proximity of his vehicle to two bridges over the Susquehanna River prompted searches of the water and surrounding banks. dive teams scoured the riverbed under favorable conditions. Visibility was clear enough to see straight to the bottom of the river, which consisted mostly of flat rock surfaces. Despite these efforts, no trace of Ray or evidence suggesting foul play was discovered. The most perplexing piece of evidence in Ray's case surfaced months after his disappearance when fishermen discovered his county-issued laptop submerged in the Susquehanna River beneath a bridge between Lewisburg and Milton. The discovery occurred on July 30th, 2005, and was made several hundred yards from where his car had been found. The laptop had become lodged against a bridge support, but was missing its hard drive. 2 months later, in October 2005, another significant discovery was made. A hard drive was found on the riverbank approximately 100 yards from where the laptop had been recovered. Investigators believed it likely belonged to Ray's laptop. However, it was severely damaged due to prolonged exposure to water and environmental conditions. Forensic experts, including specialists from the FBI, U.S. Secret Service, and a data recovery firm named Kroll OnTrack, were unable to retrieve any information from it. The sand and grit in the river had rendered it irreparably damaged. The condition of both the laptop and hard drive raised critical questions about their disposal. Investigators hypothesized that someone had intentionally removed the hard drive before discarding both items into the river. This theory suggested premeditation, but offered no clues as to who might have done it or why. Adding another layer of mystery were internet searches conducted on Ray's home computer prior to his disappearance. In April 2009, 4 years after he went missing, police revealed that someone had searched phrases like "how to wreck a hard drive," "how to fry a hard drive," and "water damage to a notebook computer" on his home computer before April 15, 2005. These searches strongly indicated that someone had been researching methods for destroying digital evidence. It remains unclear whether Ray himself conducted these searches or if someone else accessed his computer with malicious intent. If Ray performed these searches, it could suggest he intended to erase sensitive information from his laptop before disappearing voluntarily or under duress. Conversely, if another individual conducted these searches, it could point toward foul play involving someone who wanted to ensure that no incriminating data could be recovered from Ray's laptop. In addition to his laptop and its hard drive, several other personal items were unaccounted for following the disappearance. Ray's wallet and car keys were never located despite extensive searches of the area surrounding Lewisburg and along the Susquehanna River. Notably absent from his home were his sunglasses, an item he typically carried with him, which led investigators to believe he took them when he left Bellefonte on April 15th. One of the most widely discussed theories is that Ray ended his own life. This idea gained traction early in the investigation due to eerie parallels between Ray's disappearance and the suicide of his older brother Roy in 1996. Roy had parked his car near a bridge over the Great Miami River in Dayton, Ohio, before taking his own life by drowning. Similarly, Ray's red Mini Cooper was found parked near two bridges over the Susquehanna River in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. The proximity of his car to the river led some to speculate that Ray may have followed in his brother's footsteps. Supporters of this theory point to several factors. First, Ray was reportedly a poor swimmer, and if he had jumped into the river, it is plausible that he could have drowned without leaving behind much physical evidence. Additionally, the location of his car near a riverbank seemed to echo Roy's final act. Investigators also noted that sniffer dogs at the scene displayed behavior suggesting Ray might have exited his vehicle and entered another one or walked toward the water. However, there are significant challenges to this theory. Unlike Roy, Ray had no documented history of depression. His family and close friends consistently described him as someone who was looking forward to retirement later that year, and showed no signs of emotional distress leading up to his disappearance. He had plans for the future and appeared content in both his personal and professional life. Another issue with this theory is the absence of a body. Despite thorough searches of the river using divers, sonar equipment, and aerial surveillance under favorable conditions, no trace of Ray was ever found. The riverbed was described as flat rock with clear visibility at the time of the search, making it unlikely that a body could have gone unnoticed. Furthermore, many experts note that individuals who take their own lives often leave behind some form of closure for their loved ones, such as a note or instructions regarding their estate. Ray left no such indications. The second major theory is that Ray was the victim of foul play. As Center County's district attorney for nearly 2 decades, he prosecuted numerous high-profile cases that could have made him a target for retaliation. Among these cases were substance trafficking operations involving dangerous individuals and even members of organized crime groups like the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. Some speculate that someone he prosecuted may have sought revenge. A potential connection involves Jonathan Luna, an assistant U.S. attorney who was found dead under mysterious circumstances in a creek in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in 2003, just 2 years before Ray's disappearance. Luna's death remains unsolved, but has fueled speculation about whether there could be a broader pattern involving legal professionals being targeted. The previously mentioned laptop and hard drive, as well as the presence of cigarette ashes inside Ray's car, can all be viewed as supporting this theory. Robert Buhner Jr., a former district attorney and close friend of Ray's, has been an ardent supporter of the foul play theory. He believes there are individuals still alive who know what happened to Ray and may even have been involved in luring him to Lewisburg under false pretenses before harming him. The third major theory posits that Ray staged his own disappearance and voluntarily left his life behind to start anew elsewhere. This idea stems from several intriguing details about his personality and actions leading up to April 15th, 2005. Ray had reportedly expressed interest in cases where individuals vanished intentionally and began new lives under different identities. One such case involved a Cleveland police chief who disappeared years earlier. Ray allegedly found this story fascinating and discussed it with colleagues on occasion. There were also multiple unconfirmed sightings of Ray after his disappearance that lent some credence to this theory. The most notable occurred at a bar in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, where both a bartender and an off-duty police officer claimed they saw him watching a baseball game on television shortly after April 15th. Other sightings were reported across various states over the following months, but could not be verified. Additionally, Ray had connections to Central Europe through family ties. He was fluent in Slovenian and semi-fluent in Russian. These skills could have facilitated relocation abroad if he chose to flee the country. He also had relatives in Slovenia and had visited them multiple times before his disappearance. However, skeptics argue that this theory is inconsistent with key aspects of Ray's character and circumstances. Those closest to him described him as deeply committed to his daughter Laura, and unlikely to abandon her without explanation or contact. Furthermore, there was no activity on his bank accounts or credit cards after April 15th, an unusual detail for someone attempting to start a new life without financial resources. If you were to look at pretty much any map of the Gulf of Mexico drawn by Spanish explorers in the 16th and 17th centuries, you would find a small island lying off the north coast of the Yucatan Peninsula called Bermeja. Although the exact location of the island varied slightly depending on the map, it was a well-known fact that the island at least existed. Bermeja was first mentioned by Spanish cartographer Alonso de Santa Cruz in an official list of islands in the Gulf of Mexico, published in Madrid in 1539. Alonso de Chaves, another Spanish cartographer, once wrote that from a distance, Bermeja looked blondish or reddish, which is where the island's name came from. A couple of hundred years later, in the mid-1800s, French-Mexican cartographers published reports stating that the island of Bermeja had started to sink. By the late 18th century, Bermeja was no longer featured in many maps of the area, and the last time it showed up on an official map was in the 1921 edition of the Geographic Atlas of the Mexican Republic. In the late 90s, the American and Mexican governments started negotiations to determine the boundaries for the exploitation rights of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. If the Mexican government could find the island of Bermeja, that would expand Mexico's oil drilling rights way further into the Gulf. Around that time, the Mexican government conducted 3 official investigations to find the island, armed with state-of-the-art ultrasound technology and all kinds of modern tools to locate it. Mysteriously, they couldn't find any trace of the island, and according to spokespeople from the Mexican Navy, it was as if the island had never even existed. A year after the Mexican Navy failed to find Bermeja, a Mexican senator named Jose Angel Cioncielo, who was one of the most fierce advocates for the expansion of Mexico's oil drilling territory and the island's existence, was killed in a car accident on a Mexican highway when a semi-truck slammed into the right side of the car. His death quickly became the fuel for a conspiracy theory, according to which the CIA had blown up the island to further an oil-fueled American agenda. Of course, this theory is a bit of a stretch, and some of the other more logical theories that surfaced regarding the disappearance of the island are much more likely to be true. One possibility that researchers seem to favor is that the island sunk after an earthquake or underwater landslide, which led to a further series of explorations in 2009 to see if the remains could be found at the bottom of the ocean. However, despite the even more advanced technologies that were used during that year's official investigations, the ultrasound exploration of the ocean floor revealed absolutely nothing but a sandy ocean bottom. Speculation that the island had never existed once again started circulating online and in the news, leading many people to adopt it as the truth. After the failed explorations in 2009, Julio Zamora, president of the Mexican Society of Geography, claimed that the existence of the island of Bermeja had probably been faked by early Spanish explorers to throw off other explorers and military rivals from other countries. This would make sense, as it was common practice to make slightly inaccurate maps back then for the sake of strategy. Another possible theory is that the island could have been drawn by one cartographer in the wrong location by mistake and replicated dozens of times over the centuries by other unaware cartographers. Still, some researchers think that due to the very precise descriptions of the island's physical appearance, Bermeja probably did exist, but in another location. Despite the abundance of theories regarding the mysterious island's location and existence, 15 years after the last exploration of the last known location of Bermeja, the truth is still a mystery and will probably remain that way forever. Overton Bridge. Built in 1895 in Dumbarton, Scotland, the Overton Bridge is a Gothic-style bridge overlooking a 50-foot ravine that leads up to Overton House, a 19th century manor in the
Alright,
Scottish
boys.
Highlands. At first glance,
This is where
Overton
we
Bridge
at now.
looks pretty much like any other bridge from the time, but there's one pretty dark detail that makes it different from any other structure in the area.
Alright. And we just keep going. Oh my god.
For seemingly no apparent reason. Sometimes the dogs survive the fall and are left with debilitating injuries. And according to some reports, there have even been instances where dogs allegedly jumped off the bridge, survived, ran up the slope, and then jumped off once again to their deaths. Depending on the source, you'll find reports stating that the amount of dogs that have jumped off the bridge is either lower than 100 or in the high 100s.
Okay, so
Regardless of the exact number,
I have the
it's a fact
base
that a lot of dogs
colors
have died
down
at this
for all of
bridge
it.
for some mysterious reason.
So I'm
As you can
thinking
imagine, these incidents
probably
at the bridge have fueled all kinds of outlandish theories, including suggestions that the bridge is haunted.
I'm gonna have a quick meltdown
Like the Celtic
for
pagan
about
beliefs,
5
the bridge is
minutes.
located at a thin place,
I think it's a
which
good
is
break,
place that
and
lies at the
then
supposed union between
quick blah 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 blah. Bah. Quick 5-minute meltdown I think would be great. You know, quick 5-minute cry sesh, and then back to work. My hands, mi manos, is my my hands. But at the same time, I don't want to stop because it doesn't feel like a lot of progress. But this is all progress. Art's just slow. Slow process. I at least have like the angles of everything you're trying to go in the background. Yeah. Now decorate these buildings. Alright, let's see. Who was gonna get beautified first? Maybe this section right here. It's gonna be a good section to work on. Right here. Yeah. Okay.
Some locals have also favored more supernatural theories, with many people blaming the dog's death on the White Lady of Overton, the alleged ghost of the widow from Overton House. Another popular theory among the locals is that the dogs are being affected by negative residual energy from a tragic event that took place in 1994, in which a 32-year-old father threw his baby off the bridge, claiming that his child was the Antichrist. Following the tragic murder, the father was declared insane and locked up in a psych ward. But even with all the more outlandish theories that have gained traction in recent years, some researchers have come up with more plausible explanations for the mysterious incidents at Overton Bridge. In 2006, animal behaviorist David Sands investigated the bridge and suggested that the dogs are probably detecting the presence of wild animals below the bridge with their keen sense of smell, which makes them chase after the smell and inadvertently jumping to their deaths. This would make sense, as according to official statistics in the area, minks began breeding in large numbers in the 50s in Scotland, and most long-nosed dogs seem to favor the smell of mink over any other small animal, including squirrels. From my research, most of the dogs that have died at the bridge are long-nosed breeds. Also, because the bridge has tapered edges, from the dog's point of view, the edge looks more like a flat plane, safe for running and chasing after small animals. So, while there will probably continue to be speculation about paranormal activity at Overton Bridge for many years to come, it's much more likely that the dogs aren't intentionally taking their lives and are simply falling to their deaths on accident while chasing the odors from other animals. Abandoned Viaduct Petrobras. In the 1950s, the Brazilian government began a project to build BR-101, Brazil's longest highway spanning almost 3,000 miles. In the 1960s, construction began on a segment of highway called the Viaduct Petrobras that was meant to cross the Brazilian jungle to connect Rio de Janeiro and Santos, São Paulo. 16 years after construction started, the segment of highway that crossed the jungle was due to be connected to an already existing part of the highway to finish the project. However, due to Brazil's economic crisis, plans changed at the very last minute, and instead of connecting the viaduct to the existing road, the highway was linked to a different coastal route. As a result, the Viaduct Petrobras was left abandoned in the middle of the jungle, and to this day, the Brazilian government has done nothing to remove it or reuse its parts. Standing over 130 feet tall and almost 1,000 feet long, the structure features fully built tunnels, retaining walls, and a gigantic concrete foundation, which has slowly been swallowed by the jungle as the years have gone by. To an outsider, the Viaduct Petrobras looks like it was taken out of the city and dropped in the middle of nowhere in the South American jungle for no reason, giving off an admittedly eerie atmosphere. Even though the Viaduct Petrobras seems pretty wasteful, the out-of-place structure is now a pretty popular tourist destination for curious travelers and locals wanting to catch a glimpse of the abandoned concrete giant. Kola Super Deep Borehole. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union and the US were locked in a battle to develop superior space exploration technologies, often referred to as the space race. But what many people don't know is that the two countries were also competing to drill as close as possible to the center of the Earth. As is often the case, the motivation behind the drilling was mostly to find oil and valuable minerals. But from what I found, developing machines that could get close to the center of the Earth would also help understand the causes of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions at a much deeper level. In 1958, the US government launched Project Mohawk to collect a sample from Earth's mantle by drilling to the bottom of the ocean off Guadalupe Island in Mexico. Over the next 8 years, they drilled over 600 feet into the seabed, but in 1966, the House of Representatives had to discontinue the project because it was getting too expensive. 4 years later, in 1970, it was the Soviet Union's turn, and they drilled their hole close to the Barents Sea just outside the Norwegian border in a city known as Murmansk, Russia. At the time, the Soviets' goal was to drill as far down as possible, which researchers hoped would be a little over 9 miles. Unlike the US, the Soviets were a little more successful with their attempt and managed to drill way deeper into the Earth's crust, which resulted in the creation of the Kola Super Deep Borehole, also known as the world's deepest man-made hole. With a total depth of over 40,000 feet, or around 7.5 miles, the Kola Super Deep Borehole is deeper than the Mariana Trench, and its depth surpasses the height of Mount Everest. As the project progressed, the scientists realized the temperature was much higher than expected at every point below 10,000 feet, and at around 7.5 miles below the surface, the drill reported a temperature of almost 360 Fahrenheit. This was way higher than the 212 degrees Fahrenheit the scientists had predicted at that depth. So, even though the Soviets had broken a record with the Kola borehole, they too had to discontinue the project in 1992 due to increasing rock densities and crazy high temperatures. And in 2005, the drill was shut down and the hole was sealed for good. However, that wasn't the end of the story, and there's a slightly more disturbing reason why people remember the Kola Super Deep Borehole. In the late 80s, a strange story started circulating in several Christian Finnish newspapers, which reported that a group of Soviet scientists had drilled a hole to the center of the Earth and had allegedly lowered an extremely heat-tolerant microphone into the hole. Through this, they supposedly heard a series of extremely disturbing, tormented screams coming from the bottom of the well. throughout the 90s, the story spread to other countries until even American newspapers were running it. As the story gained popularity, sound files with the supposed audio of the tormented screams from the center of the earth started appearing everywhere online, with allegations that the screams came from tormented souls stuck in hell. As it was later revealed, the original recording of tormented screams was made from a loop of various sound effects and the soundtrack from the 1972 movie Barren Blood. From this point forward, it was pretty much common knowledge that the screams were fake. However, it is a fact that some pretty disturbing sounds have been heard coming from the Kola super deep borehole, along with other super deep boreholes. In 2013, Dutch artist Lute Given traveled to the 30,000 foot deep KTB super deep borehole in Germany, where she lowered a microphone protected by a thermal shield to see if she could pick up any sounds at the bottom of the well. Interestingly, a mysterious deep rumbling sound that scientists couldn't explain could be heard through the microphone, which in the artist's own words, some people thought sounded like hell, while others thought they could hear the planet breathe. Even though the sound is pretty cool to hear, even if a little haunting, the consensus among scientists is that the sound comes from layers and layers of rocks rearranging themselves after being moved around by the drill that made the hole. Potomsky Crater. In 1949, a Russian geologist named Vadim Kolpakov stumbled upon a mysterious crater with a diameter of over 500 feet and a height of almost 140 feet in Irkutsk, Siberia. At the center of the crater, he found a little hill around 40 feet tall, which kind of looked like an eagle's nest with an egg inside it. Curious to find out what was inside the crater, Kolpakov made plans to climb the mound and take a look inside to confirm his hypothesis that the crater had been caused by a meteorite. But the locals warned him that Fire Eagle Nest, as it's become known all over the world, allegedly possessed evil powers, and whoever stepped inside it would be dead soon after. Dismissing the insistent warnings as superstition, he climbed the mound, but failed to find any rock samples that supported his meteorite hypothesis. Over time, more and more expeditions were carried out to the crater, including one in 2005, in which the leader of the investigation died of a heart attack shortly after visiting the crater. Based on the findings of recent explorations, scientists have ruled out volcanic eruptions, nuclear explosions, and impact from a meteorite as possible causes for the crater. In the absence of a solid answer, some have started coming up with all kinds of theories to explain its origin, including the possibility that a UFO landing made the crater. Others have linked the crater to the Tunguska meteorite, the remains of which have never been discovered. One of the things that makes it so difficult to determine the origin of Fire Eagle Nest, or Kolpakov Cone as it's now popularly known, is that the crater frequently changes shape, which suggests that whatever caused it is still affecting it to this day. The only thing scientists know for sure is that the crater is around 250 years old, which they gathered from the rings on the trees growing on the mound. Strangely, it's been scientifically proven that the trees closer to the crater grow much faster than normal, which is similar to what happened in the forests around Chernobyl after the nuclear disaster. The lack of solid explanations, coupled with the weird tree phenomenon, has been fuel to the fire of outlandish conspiracy theories about underground nuclear plants and nuclear-powered UFOs buried beneath the crater. To this day, scientists still haven't determined what caused Kolpakov Cone to appear, and no asteroid fragments or metal parts have been found in the crater to support some of the theories people have come up with over the years. As of today, the most logical explanation is that the mound could have been caused by the underground release of hydrogen fluids and heat from a nearby gas volcano. This could have caused changes in the size of tree rings, which would explain why scientists thought they were growing at an abnormal rate. Still, despite the more convincing explanations that have surfaced over the years, the origin of Kolpakov Cone will probably remain a mystery for many years to come. Villa Epicune. In the 1920s, a small tourist village about 400 miles from Buenos Aires, Argentina, called Villa Epicune, was built along the shore of Lago Epicune, a salt lake touted for the health benefits and therapeutic effects of its mineral waters, which were said to be beneficial for rheumatic conditions. Quickly turning into a weekend getaway for Argentina's upper class, the town soon had a functional railroad station and a population of about 1,500, with a capacity to accommodate around 5,000 additional visitors at its peak in the 70s. Due to its popularity as a weekend getaway for Argentine city dwellers, a lot of money was poured into Villa Epicune to expand its accommodations and make it as comfortable as possible for visitors. However, it seemed not a lot of resources or attention was dedicated to the containment dam that separated the lake from the town. Unfortunately, on November 10th, 1985, the containment dam broke during a storm and a series of unusual strong winds. For 2 weeks, the water rose at a rate of half an inch per hour, until eventually the containment dam was completely destroyed by the water, after which all the locals had to abandon their homes and businesses and leave behind Villa Epicune. Over the following days, the flood drowned the town over 30 feet underwater, and it wasn't until 25 years later in 2009 that the waters began to recede and now show the eerie remains of the town, which now looks like something out of a dystopian movie. From above, you can see the original layout of the streets of Villa Epicune, along with its many businesses and the houses 1,500 people called home. With its overgrown trees, rusty post-apocalyptic appearance, and ghost town vibes, Villa Epicune now draws in tourists and photographers from all over the world who want to get a glimpse of the ruins of the once bustling getaway town. Due to the high levels of salt in the water that once flooded the town, most of the buildings in Villa Epicune are covered with a thin white residue, giving the town an even more creepy appearance. One of the more interesting facts about Villa Epicune is that even after it was completely destroyed by the water and flooded for more than 25 years, as soon as the water receded in 2009, one of the locals, then 81-year-old Pablo Novak, decided to come back home and live out the rest of his days in Villa Epicune. Out of the original 1,500 residents of the town, Pablo was the only one who came back. As the lone inhabitant of Villa Epicune, Novak was officially named the cultural ambassador of the town in 2020. But unfortunately, in January 2024, Pablo Novak passed away at the age of 93, leaving the town once again completely abandoned. Alex from Tennessee. On April 24th, 2013, an anonymous 4chan user posted an image from Google Maps with a cryptic caption reading, "By this rubble your prize awaits, Tennessee. Park nearby and walk to this point for the secret. It's under plastic at this point. Good luck." The image appeared to be an aerial view screenshot of a random location in the town of Elizabethton, Tennessee. In the screenshot, there was a pin marking the exact location of the coordinates the user had entered. If you enter the coordinates into Google Maps today, you'll find a bunch of dilapidated, sketchy-looking old buildings. At first, other users played the post off as a joke, with some mentioning that the OP was probably crazy or just looking for internet attention. But a little less than 20 minutes later, the uploader once again became active on the thread and answered everyone's remarks by saying, "No one shall claim the prize, time to try other websites." While other 4chaners debated amongst themselves in regards to what kind of prize the uploader was talking about, the OP himself responded to the speculations with the comment, "It is warm." Over the next couple of hours, the OP proceeded to post a series of strange and ominous messages in the thread, such as, "No cops here," "Someone coming for the prize," and "Little friend fly away, why is no one coming, see?" With this last comment, he also posted an image of what appears to be the claw from an unidentified animal lying on the grass. The extremely long fingernails and disturbing nature of the image were unsettling enough, but the thread was only about to get more eerie. A little less than 2 hours after the original post, the OP continued posting strange comments. At 10:23 p.m., he said, "I am angry you are not here. My friend moves. My friend is not the prize." A few minutes later, the OP commented, "Plastic prize, and I've had my friend for long now. Not what matters today. I need people to come." Seeing that nobody was claiming his so-called prize, the OP then uploaded 2 images to the thread. In the first grainy image, we can see what appears to be some sort of dark room or dungeon, while the second image is a picture of a handwritten note with the words, "Please come, Wednesday, April 24th, 2013. The last message shared by the OP in the thread was, "Singing tonight, someone come." After that, the uploader went completely quiet, and it wasn't until 5 nights later that the thread had an important update. At around 9:45 p.m. on April 29th, a user simply named Alex uploaded a series of comments and images in a follow-up thread in which he mentioned that he was at the location posted by the original anonymous user. With his comments and pictures, Alex narrated what he saw inside the dark, mysterious location, posting updates periodically for his fellow 4chaners. Disturbingly, the images he uploaded seemed to get more unsettling as the night went on. First, he uploaded a few pictures of plastic garbage bags and other images showing his general surroundings, but when he showed the bag's contents, things got a little darker. As per the images, the bag contains what appears to be a mummified pelvic bone and a styrofoam plate with a messy inscription that reads, "Plate's a date, a very important mate. You shouldn't have come, I lied." He then uploaded an ominous image of a bunch of prescription pills in their containers surrounded by dust and cobwebs. Unfazed by the creepy message on the plate, Alex continued to investigate the mysterious underground location until he mentioned in one of the comments that he heard a car coming and decided to head out. This was his last post. Window thing isn't a window, it's some other vent thing. Turning around and leaving around through wood door. Jesus. After this post, Alex was never heard from again. Following the disturbing series of posts, many people were left wondering if something had happened to him. Although many users were concerned about Alex's safety, it's unlikely that anything bad happened to him. There seemed to be no records of murders or kidnappings in Elizabethton, Tennessee from that time, and a case like this would surely have been on the news. This leaves the question of whether or not Alex's experience was genuine. Although the images he uploaded are definitely creepy and appear to have been taken at the actual location, there are some clues in the post that indicate he could have been lying about his whereabouts while he was uploading the images and comments. If we look at the average span of time that went by between his posts, we can see that he was posting pretty much once a minute, which is an insane posting speed for someone who is visiting a dangerous, unknown location for the first time. This makes it much more likely that Alex had the pictures handy on his desktop and was uploading them in rapid succession to make it seem as if he was a random 4chaner who went to go claim the mysterious prize. The most widely accepted possibility in this rabbit hole is that Alex was also the original anonymous uploader and just wanted to mess with people by creating an internet mystery. Although there still isn't a real clear conclusion to the story. 5 years after the original discussion took place on 4chan, in a video that's since been deleted, a YouTuber by the name of Noah went to the location and went into the abandoned old buildings. Inside, he found what looked like the belongings of the homeless people who probably lived there, but other than that, there wasn't much to look at. It's more than likely that Alex fabricated the entire story to gain internet attention, but because this was never confirmed, the mystery has been kept alive by various other YouTubers and uploaders in online forums, as people continue to search for a definitive explanation. Thrift store discoveries. Thrift stores have certain guidelines and rules regarding the kinds of items they can receive from donors. This helps prevent the stores from getting filled with damaged, unusable, or illegal items, and most of the time the screening process is pretty effective. However, due to the large volume of donations that many stores receive, it's often impossible to keep track of absolutely everything that comes in. As a result, buyers oftentimes end up finding all kinds of unexpected items in thrift stores, ranging from the cool and unlikely to the jarring and extremely disturbing. An example of this is this image that was allegedly found in a photo album at a Goodwill in Washington. The image originally started gaining attention in the online forum Reddit when it was uploaded by a woman who claimed that it was originally posted on a true crime Facebook group. The woman who uploaded it to Facebook allegedly deleted it after people started spamming her inbox with questions about the jarring image. The image in question shows two men in a small creek with their hands bound behind their backs. Disturbingly, one of them is face down in the water, while the other one sits upright. In the foreground, the shadow of what looks like a man holding a weapon can be seen. According to the Reddit post, the woman who uploaded it to Facebook knew someone who had bought a photo album at a Goodwill in Washington. The album was allegedly empty, except for this one photo. Immediately after it was posted to Reddit, people started speculating and coming up with possible explanations for the image. One of the initial theories that gained a lot of traction online was that the image could have been a part of a low-budget horror or crime film. Others speculated that the image shows some kind of military training or fraternity hazing ritual. It's also possible that the image shows a real crime scene where someone might have
Okay.
two men
Almost coming up to 2 hours now.
at gunpoint. The fact that this was never confirmed makes the image all the more creepy, and people have continued searching for explanations to this day. In my research, I found that this isn't the only unexpected picture that's been found in thrift stores in the past couple of decades. As it turns out, cursed thrift store finds are almost an entire genre of their own in several online communities, with people uploading images of the strange, cool, and unlikely objects they found in random thrift stores all over the internet every day. In January 2023, a TikTok user by the name of JC uploaded a video with the caption, "When I bought a camera at Goodwill in Arizona and found a SIM card in it that had photos of my dad who lives in Idaho." In the second part of the video, the user shows her laptop screen where she downloaded the photos from the camera. One of the blurry images featured in the TikTok, which appears to have been taken from below, shows the uploader's dad with a smirk on his face. caption, JC claimed that as soon as she saw the picture, she was so caught off guard that she immediately called her dad. Although thousands of TikTok users asked her for an update, she never explained where the image came from or how the camera ended up in Arizona if her dad lives in Idaho. Although it might seem like a 1 in a million chance to find a picture like this in a SIM card, it turns out that the occurrence of these coincidences is actually pretty common. In JC's TikTok, several people jumped in the comments to talk about the time something similar had happened to them. One user commented, "One time my grandma found a wedding album at the thrift store and it had pics of me and my mom because we attended." Another user commented, "I work at a thrift store. I found a ripped up old Christmas photo of my aunt's family on a shelf in a pile one day. They don't live in the same town." The further I went down the rabbit hole, the more disturbing the thrift shop finds seemed to get, with some of them being incredibly creepy. In September 2023, Goodwill employees at a store in Goodyear, Arizona were sorting through a donations box when they came across a real human skull. After reporting the incident to the police, an investigation was launched to determine if it was a part of some sort of crime. Fortunately, police determined that the person had died of natural causes. Though this obviously doesn't explain how the skull even got into the donations box, and the investigation is still ongoing. Creepy thrift store finds have become increasingly popular since the birth of online forums, and it's likely that many of the mysteries surrounding these strange and often terrifying pictures and objects will never be solved. UVB-76. Since the 1970s, a Russian shortwave radio station has been broadcasting on the frequencies 4625 and 4810 kHz. The station is still active, and depending on where you are in the world, you can still tune in to listen. For over 50 years, the station has been broadcasting a short, monotonous buzz that plays for 24 hours a day at about 25 tones per minute. This is what it sounds like. Before 2010, the physical station was located in a bunker in the town of Pavravo near Moscow. But one day in 2010, the station went silent for about a day, and when it reappeared, the broadcast was coming from a different location in St. Petersburg. After September 2010, the call sign of the radio station also changed from UVB-76 to MDZHB. Since then, the call sign has been changed multiple times, and as of 2019, ANVF is the most commonly used call sign for the station. Much of what we know about what the original station in Pavravo looked like is thanks to the testimony and images that was uploaded to different blogs and websites by several users who visited the station after it was abandoned. In 2011, a blogger who goes by the name of WASD uploaded hundreds of pictures to his blog from his trip to where the UVB-76 station used to be housed. After visiting, he said, "It is worth mentioning that the bunker is a quiet and deserted dark place, somewhat similar to a labyrinth, with a bunch of corridors and rooms. It's better not to go there without a flashlight, because there's absolutely nothing to light there. It's completely dark." As of today, the original station has been out of order for years. The buzz that can be heard in the broadcast is pretty unsettling in itself, and this is part of the reason why UVB-76 has become an extremely popular internet rabbit hole. At certain points during the broadcast, the buzz breaks up, and a male Russian voice can be heard reciting encoded messages in the form of numbers and letters. Another detail that has caught the attention of listeners is that the frequency at which the voice can be heard reciting the encoded messages is not regular at all. This is what it would sound like. When the station was first launched, the voice only interrupted the constant buzzing once every few months, but ever since the station was moved, it's been heard with increasing frequency. Strangely, the voice has also been heard in the days leading up to important international events, such as when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. This has caused many people to speculate about the purpose of UVB-76, with many people thinking that it's been used since its creation for spy communications. Others suggest it may be a counterattack measure for nuclear war, but after looking around on various Russian websites and forums, I was able to find a much more likely theory. In several Russian forums, it's common to find discussions on UVB-76 in which ex-military members debunk the myths that have circulated around the station for decades. Those familiar with the Russian military have explained that because the codes are constantly being changed, recycled, and transformed, it's pretty much impossible to know what exactly is being said on the station without the key. But far from being used to send messages to spies, the most likely possibility is that the voice messages are being used for Russian military drills and other basic military activities. From what I was able to find, the purpose of the continuous noise is just to stop others from broadcasting over the same frequency. Ultimately, there are hundreds of other radio stations around the world with a signature placeholder to prevent others from broadcasting on that frequency. And although this has given rise to one of the most popular internet mysteries of the decade, the reality behind UVB-76 is probably a lot less dark and mysterious than many people seem to think. The disappearance of Dublin, Wisconsin. If you've ever gone digging around for internet rabbit holes, you might have heard of a town called Dublin, Wisconsin. If the name sounds unfamiliar, Dublin is described by users in online forums and groups as a small town in Wisconsin that housed hundreds of military families in the previous century. And it's often mentioned that the town was made for the sole purpose of building Project Sanguine. Project Sanguine was a U.S. Navy project proposed in 1968 to improve communications with submerged submarines using extremely low-frequency radio waves. The initially proposed system for Project Sanguine, which was meant to survive a full-fledged nuclear attack, would have required a giant antenna consisting of 6,000 miles of buried cables in a rectangular grid covering 2/5 of the state of Wisconsin. Although this system was never implemented because of protests from residents of neighboring towns, several sources claim that a smaller, modified system was built in Dublin in the 70s. At first, the story of Dublin might not sound like anything out of the ordinary, except for one detail. It's long been believed that at some point in the 1990s, the entire town of Dublin, Wisconsin somehow disappeared off the face of the earth. Strangely, Dublin doesn't appear on any maps, and if you look up information on the town today, you won't find any official reports about its history, which is incredibly strange considering that over the years, a huge number of internet users have claimed to have relatives who used to live in the town. For example, a user named Jamie Ivanov posted the following account of the rural town on Reddit. I just learned of all the noise surrounding Dublin, and I think I can add some insight. Dublin was a small town in Wisconsin that housed a lot of military families. My father lived there for a year or two and spoke of it occasionally. The main thing I remember is that it had to do with Project Sanguine in the early 60s. I don't think it was X-Files type stuff, but the town was destroyed after an incident. I thought they were digging up a ton of land for something and they flooded the town or something, but this is a rehashed secondhand memory from years ago. In several online forums, websites, and groups, people have also uploaded pictures of shirts, mugs, and other souvenirs from the town. One particular post on the obscure Urban Legends Wikia page even features a photo that was supposedly recovered from Dublin, Wisconsin. The image in question shows a middle-aged waiter sitting next to a young woman who puts her arm around him as they both smile at the camera. On the right-hand side, a young kid can also be seen sitting across the table from them. Although the image has been reposted in many online forums and groups, there seems to be no evidence at all that suggests the picture was actually taken at a restaurant in the allegedly vanished town. In the past decade, many people have also reported a digital ghost trace of Dublin in the form of Google search autocorrect and recommended search options suggesting the term Dublin, Wisconsin. But mysteriously, the suggestion doesn't lead the user anywhere in particular, which is added to the mystery surrounding the town. Throughout these past 2 decades, reports of vanished towns have been pretty common in the online mystery and horror community, but there's one thing in particular that makes Dublin stand out from other urban legends of towns that have disappeared off the face of the earth. Some of the most notorious vanished towns have been found to be part of different alternate reality games, or even online publicity campaigns for movies and video games. But from my research, nothing like this can be linked to Dublin, Wisconsin, and everything seems to indicate that this town never actually existed. The earliest mention I was able to find of the town was in a 2015 Tumblr post, in which a user asked if anyone had ever heard of the small rural town of Dublin, Wisconsin, after which the OP discussed the main theories behind the phenomenon of the alleged vanished town. One of the more far-fetched theories that has gained traction in online forums is that Dublin did exist back in the day, but a freak accident that occurred during Project Sanguine somehow shifted the entire town into another dimension, or we shifted into a reality where the town never existed. Obviously, this is a bit of a stretch, but a more down-to-earth theory is that something did happen during Project Sanguine that turned the entire town of Dublin into an uninhabitable wasteland, forcing the military to cover up their mistake by evacuating the families that lived there and destroying the entire town. Many users seem to favor this theory, But the fact that most accounts of the town's existence have come from online users and not from people who actually live there or from residents of neighboring towns suggests that the whole thing might be an example of mass delusion, which brings us to a more realistic and widely accepted theory. Although it's unlikely that a large number of users met in secret and agreed to spread lies about the town across various online platforms just to mess with people, it is possible that Dublin, Wisconsin is an example of what social psychologists call the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect describes an eerie phenomenon whereby a large number of people collectively misremember events, historical facts, and other famous pop culture moments, such as when people misremember Ilsa Lund's line from Casablanca as "Play it again, Sam." In the movie, the real line is "Play it once, Sam," but many people swear they remember it differently. With all the memorabilia of Dublin that has emerged online in the past decade, it's possible that certain residents of Wisconsin associated the name of the town with another town they had visited, which could have led to the mass confusion that became apparent in various online forums. The Google recommended search and autocorrect bug that is still active today could simply be the result of thousands of people worldwide searching for the town, bumping up the importance of the town's name in the algorithm, which could also explain the emergence of souvenirs from Dublin. As often happens when new trends take over the internet, the rise of memorabilia from the fictitious town was most likely an attempt to make a few dollars by people who use bots to find trending topics in forums and automatically generate merchandise related to them. Although this seems to be the most likely theory, the Dublin, Wisconsin phenomenon is extremely odd and has no clear conclusion on whether or not it actually ever existed, which has contributed to its status as one of the most mysterious rabbit holes of the decade. On the morning of January 2nd, 1978, a woman in California received a call asking
why dating is hard for guys. Guy who attracts arrows. Average guy, average guy, average guy, average guy. Guy far enough away to be out of the range of the first guy's attraction field, okay? I can kinda understand the humor here a little bit. I think this might just be me being 85 years old, or maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand this next level big brain stuff. Look at that idiot with a dumb backpack. Wait a minute, I can harass her. Hey, idiot, where'd you get that backpack? At the idiot store? Okay. You know, the weird part is I'm pretty sure I recognize this artist. Yeah, Sarah Grayley and Steph Perenins? I have no idea. I don't recognize the names, I just recognize the art style, because that's the type of online person I am. I don't know why I can't commit the artist names to memory, but their style, that's going nowhere in the old noodle. Haha, banana di comino. Baba booey, we are going to steal the moon. Okay, what the f is this? It's from the Seattle Times? My God, I have no idea what it is. I mean, I can infer some things from looking around and taking in the details. That's Elon, there's USA, that's gone, whatever. But what the hell is going on here? Why the minions? Why the minions, man? Yeah, but before we continue with all that fun stuff, it is my solemn duty to bring you information about today's sponsor, Raycon. Look, I know y'all like audio. You wouldn't be here listening to me rambling about memes on a daily basis if you didn't. Raycon will let you do that with ease. With their active noise canceling, you can drown out all that background nonsense and keep your focus solely on one of my rants. And their latest model is better than ever before, featuring 32-hour battery life and new IP66 weatherproofing, so you can take your favorite narrator on the go and not have to worry about a little rain. My personal favorite feature is how comfortable they are to wear, using their optimized gel tips for a cozy custom fit. As someone who has gone through a lot to find earbuds that actually fit my ears, putting these on for the first time made me feel like Prince Charming was putting on my glass slipper. Just, not like that. And with their quick charge feature granting you up to 90 minutes of battery life on a 10-minute charge, I can be ready to head out on my daily bike ride at a moment's notice, even if I forgot to leave them plugged in overnight. At just half the price of their competitors, they even have awareness mode, making sure I can still hear the world over my music. So go to buyraycon.com/MK to get 20% off the best-selling everyday earbuds. Brought to you by Raycon. Now back to my silly rants and rambles, or whatever it was I was doing. I always wonder why birds stay in the same place when they can fly anywhere on Earth. Then I remember that I covered that tree in glue. Okay, so I'm starting to understand a little bit more, but you know how I am. By the end of this video, I won't get it anymore. I don't know why, I just cannot keep in my mind the concept of bone-hurting juice. And there's probably, on the subreddit, a spot that explains what the fuck it is. I just don't want to read it. There's an arrow in the FedEx logo. If you look at the E and the X, there is also a spoon if you look at the lowercase e and d. You're blowing my mind. Oh my god, call an ambulance. What was the original? I want to know what the original comic was, because it was probably incredibly stupid. Just as stupid as this? Maybe not. They'll never find the bodies. I think they're going to very easy, actually, because I can see all of the bodies from here myself. So, like, what's going on? Seriously, if that was your goal, you did a very, very bad job hiding the bodies. If you just did, in general, whatever, full stop, I'm out. You're going to prison. Where I wish I was. Aw, that's great. Where I am. You know, I don't feel like it's going to be awesome the first time I ever need to get a full body scan, MRI, whatever. You know, all I hear is that, hey, if you're claustrophobic, you're going to hate it in there. It's going to be awful because you're basically in, granted, you're in a coffin with an open end and an open area for your feet and all that, but it is going to feel horrifying because they're also incredibly loud and do make crazy-ass noises. I don't think they make bone-snapping noises, but I've heard they're stupid loud. So I'm not looking forward to the day when I inevitably have to lay in one of these things. That's not the point of this subreddit. I don't care. Welcome to the cloud. Here you can see all our cloud computers. Wait a minute, these are all just books. I'm guessing we don't need to turn them off, eh? I say once again, huh? Why is the devil here now? Why did he take the mask off? What's going on? Of course we're not turning off the books. What does this mean? Do you want anything from McDonald's? Borgard. Okay. Oh god, why is it? It looks like she's been Thanos snapped. Okay, not true. It doesn't actually look like that, but there are chunks of her that are missing. Where'd they go? What is this original page from? Why do we keep doing this to poor Shadow? Okay, he's so cute, he just needs a pat on the head and a hug. He doesn't need this. Why does everyone keep mistreating the poor boy? The poor, goth, rollerblading boy should get a little bit of happiness. Just a pinch of happiness is deserved, I'd say. Okay, now, where did I put the tiny C4? Oh no, uh-oh. I don't know, it looked like it already blew up. Just the way everything's smeared on the table, it looks like it already exploded, but I'm guessing she ate very messily, and now she's got the tiny C4 inside of her, which is incredibly dangerous, because look, it's stable, but I don't think you should go around eating C4, you know? I don't know what sets C4 off, but I just don't know anymore, man. Am I supposed to know something about explosives to understand? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Of course. There, another nice picture of the ceiling. Thanks for the picture of your ceiling. Man, what a nice ceiling. That sure was a cool ceiling. That's true. That's true. I've looked at my ceiling plenty. It's pretty cool. There's nothing on it at all, but it is a cool ceiling. I will admit, I cannot deny. My God, I have been talking for so long today. My throat is swollen. I need to take a break from speaking for probably a week after this, which I guess bodes well, because I will be able to take a break for a week. Also, this might be the highest resolution version of this image I've ever seen. Not that it's particularly high resolution, it's just higher resolution. Also, how did I just now notice she's got the goddamn little alien antenna? How did I just know that? Or notice that? Has she always had it? Was he supposed to have it too? Huh? Bro, your fit is straight up trash. I can't be seen with you. Go away. That actually, like, straight up took me out of breath big time. I can change, but will you? Also, his fit's not that bad. It's just a t-shirt. I mean, his pants seem like they'd be regular enough. Your fit's the same. Actually, it's not quite a swapped color palette, but come on, man. This ain't that bad. He is just a vapor, though, which is like, I could see that being an issue for you going out in public with that, but that's a different story, right? Hello, my name is Joe. And sometimes, I don't use good comic ideas because they're too hard to draw. Wait, you have good comic ideas? Oh my god, I swear. It's like everybody that does make comics online to any degree of success is just treated like shit, like you're all dumb. Well, if they weren't talented or funny, how the hell did they get to where they are now exactly? Riddle me that. Okay, did they go through the Hollywood humiliation ritual to be given, I don't know, their soul in exchange for fame? I don't think so. Artists anti-comedy. Oh, that really would be anti-comedy, wouldn't it? Hey, would it be cool if I looked forward? Yeah, go ahead. Please don't. Please don't look forward. Don't do it. I'm sorry. Do not look at me directly. I will probably have a heart attack, okay? I don't need you glancing my way looking like a fucking Poppy Playtime villain, alright? Look at this thing and tell me that it doesn't belong in a mascot horror game. Genuinely. Look me in the eyes, not that thing, and tell me. You know it to be true. You feel it deep down within yourself that I am correct. No! What did I say? Don't look at me! Stop! Why? Oh, man. I knew that was gonna happen. I just knew it. Dad, can we bond together? Son, I'm busy. But you're never around, Dad. Wait, yes. Really? That was very fun. Yeah. So if I had to guess, bone hurting juice is just, we're getting rid of the jokes. We're removing the jokes entirely. It is the antithesis of a joke, and that is why it's funny, right? Am I correct in finally assuming something about this subreddit or about this genre of meme or whatever you want to call it? Because I think I'm on the money here. Barber did me dirty. He f***ed my shit up, fam. Hats indoors is rude. No, it's not. You're stupid. You're just stupid. Hey, what? Okay. Man, I think I would appreciate this stuff so much better if right after seeing the weird version, I could see the real version. If I could see the original comic strips with their original jokes, I think I would appreciate this a good bit more. I'm just saying. Your speech bubble color has infected the local wildlife. You have no proof. I bet you feel real fucking stupid right now. Huh, you know, I bet he does. I think that's the thing that's been getting me, is what is there really to be said about a joke that's not a joke? What sort of things could I really sit here and riff on and say and talk about regarding humor that is supposed to be anti-humor, which is the reason it's funny, right? Uh-oh, do you smell that? Fart alert. Oh, shit. Yeah, it is the CEO of Beans. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna screenshot this one. I'm gonna send that one to Zach. I think that he would appreciate the humor in this one. And you know what? While I'm at it, I'm also gonna send that on over to Damien. I think both of them would really appreciate the message behind this for sure. And Lord knows I needed to see that today. So, no, there you go. Fart alert. You gotta beware. The CEO of Beans can come around the corner at any point in time, and if you're not ready, it's going to be a lot worse for you. Okay? A lot worse for you. This mouse named Algernon gets a shit ton of flowers. That's awesome. Okay. Man, flowers for Algernon. Did you guys ever watch/read that when you were in school? Did ya? Isn't that just a heartbreaking goddamn movie to watch and story to read? Not my goddamn favorite. I can understand why it's a part of so many people's English journeys, but I just don't really like the goddamn story at all. Olive juice, so good. I wish it was real. How many times in my life am I gonna be forced to see this goth, big titty, gender swap Garfield? You might be thinking to yourself, goddamn, how often are you seeing it? Often enough. More than once a month is surprising to me. How old is this image? She's right, though. I do wish Olive Juice was real. I also wish that Olive Garden was real and that their breadsticks were real, you know? I know that that's probably the saddest thing in the world to hype up a restaurant for its bread, but look, they're good. I love me the breadsticks. Just give me the fucking breadsticks. I don't want any of your C-tier quality crap.
I think a 2-hour stream is good for now. I am going to continuously work on this no matter what. On and off stream. Pero aquí para hoy God, there's so much. Okay, so whoo, yeah, we're gonna have our boy like folded out here, and then the lyrics, or not the lyrics, but like the title is gonna be here. So fudge. I don't know how much I can or can't cuss, so full. Deuces and let chaos ensue.